I will call the meeting to order and just wanted to let everybody know that pursuant to Mass General Law, we are making a video and audio recording of this meeting so that you've been informed. Um, and with that, we'll begin the select board meeting of December 2nd. Our first order of business is the open session minutes from November 18th. Did you, Gordon and Bob, get a chance to review these minutes?
I
You have
have.
any?
Yeah, I just reviewed them a little bit ago.
I would entertain a motion for approval or any edits if you would like to make any.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the open session minutes of November 18th.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion and a second on the minutes. And if there's no further discussion on those, I will call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I heard 3 ayes for a unanimous
Mhm.
approval. Our next order of business is public comment. So if you'd like to make a comment at this point, there is a raise hand button under React that you can hit, or just unmute yourself, turn your camera on, figure it out. I have one. Looks like James is with us. Made it to the meeting. How are you, James?
Yeah, you preempted my thing. I know I requested to go last. I was worried about traffic and all that, but I am here, so I'm happy to stick to the meeting agenda if that works for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Sure. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment before we move on? All right, seeing none, we will move into general business, of which our first order is the update from Green Theory Cultivation. So James, if you want to unmute yourself, and yeah, thank you for joining us. So there's some, I guess I'll just get started and say that there's been some since our last meeting, there's been some information that's come to light, and as maybe people would notice, that Harsh isn't with us at this meeting, and my understanding is he's no longer with Aruna. So you're in the process of seeking new leadership, which good luck to you on that. But and again, thank you for joining us. We still have those issues sort of outstanding from our last discussions that we wanted to kind of continue with you here. And furthermore, since our last meeting, we have received a $10,000 payment and an outline of future payments to rectify the debts that you guys have with the town. And so I think that's kind of where we stand as far as what I have in front of me, unless Bob, Gordon, do either of you have anything you want to add before I kind of hand it over to James here?
I'm just interested to hear what he has to say.
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll have something to talk about. Sounds
Agreed.
good.
Agreed.
All right. So as Sean stated, effective as of November 26th, Harsh resigned from Green Theory Cultivation. He has resigned his positions. He has surrendered his equity, so he is no longer involved with the company. Taking over as interim CEO is Upesh Patel, who has been an owner of the company from day one. He has been in a more passive role since then, and he's now stepping into the active role as interim CEO. Upesh will be in that role, he lives in Maryland. He was in retirement prior to this, so he's not looking to come in and run things day to day as Harsh was. And the company is seeking a transition on that side to bring in a CEO, most likely looking at a professional third-party management firm that will come in and help run things. Assisting Upesh are Hope Kalish, who has been the HR and personnel director, again, since very early days, and Jerry Degon, who's going to be the point person for day-to-day operations. He's the current director of operations and grow manager. Jerry's been instructed to get the system up and running that we had discussed last time. The more aggressive odor control system. So that will be in place. And to make sure that, he's taking everything over on that side. And I spoke with Chris yesterday. I hadn't been party to the settlement discussions for the utility bills, and I believe it was water, sewer, and I think property tax were the outstanding fees.
Correct.
And to my understanding, Harsh did make that $10,000 payment prior to his resignation. There's a proposal for a payment plan that's under consideration of $10,000 a month, going up to $20,000 a month in the springtime. So we're waiting to hear back on approval of that payment plan. Upesh is committed to fulfilling all of the obligations that Aruna has put forward in terms of making, whole on those payments, odor control and mitigation, and really, turning things around, and hopefully starting a new chapter with the town, under his supervision and leadership as things move forward and progress. So, we appreciate the board, letting me come in and speak tonight on behalf of the company. As stated, Upesh lives in Maryland. He's recently been diagnosed with a few medical issues, so he's not able to attend tonight. But I have connected him with Chris via email, so we have some communication channels going there. And myself, Jerry, and Hope will facilitate as much as we can this transition. But essentially, the long and short of it is some new faces, some familiar faces, maintaining the commitments, seeing through all of those things as we're in this transitional period for Aruna. So, anything the board needs, you have my contact information. You can always get in touch with me. I can make sure it gets disseminated to the right people on the Aruna side. And I'm outside counsel for them. I'm not there every day. But I'm happy to connect you with the people who are there and make sure things get squared away on that front. So any questions the board may have, happy to address. I should say the Cannabis Commission has been made aware of this. They've accepted everything. They've processed everything on their side. I've sent notification to Chris. I've sent notification to Chief DeSantis, with Upesh CC'd on both of those. So they have his contact information, and trying to make this as smooth as possible for everyone involved. So appreciate the board's consideration on this, and as stated, happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, James. I get maybe we can start with the proposed payment plan. Do we want to discuss that? Bob, Gordon, do you I guess I'm wondering what you both think of the proposed plan and whether or not you think it's sufficient, or your thoughts.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
Question is the first $10,000 payment, is that in the town coffers right now as we speak?
My understanding is it is.
Okay. I just want to bring it to everybody's attention that $10,000 a month, we're talking about 3 years,
right,
to cover back debts to the town. That's property tax and water and the water bill. So that's about 3 years, and then there will also be over those 3 years the current the debt owed as it shows up. We all have tax bills, we all have water bills, so that's all happening at the same time. And James, are you saying that Aruna is is prepared to cover that and keep on that schedule.
That's my understanding. I wasn't party to those discussions, but Chris filled me in on what the proposal was, and to my understanding, it was $10,000 through the winter, $20,000 in the spring, as well as keeping current on current obligations.
Right.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well, Bob. And the water sewer portion will go to the BBW for consideration on Monday. Theirs is a little bit different because some of the water and sewer has been leaned, and so if the business was ever sold, about half of the water and sewer would be taken care of, and all of the, and my understanding is all of the property taxes would have to get settled during that transaction, but there's a portion of water and sewer that has not been leaned, that is still outstanding. So they have a little more to consider on their meeting Monday, about the non-leaned water and sewer bills. But
Right.
And Mr. Chairman?
Gordon, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, one question I have is as Aruna works to get these payments in, how is it going to get split? Just 50-50 between the water and taxes, or have they differentiated different payments to go to different coffers? Because it's it's a different kind of fund with the water sewer. And so I'm just wondering how that arrangement's been made with the collector.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was going to go next.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Gordon, because I was of the thought that maybe we apply these payments to the water bill, 100% of the payments to the water bill as they come in until that's settled, and we sort of go from there. That was my initial thoughts, but you both.
I'm fine with that as long as the collector's good and Aruna agrees. I think they need to be comfortable with this, but I think there needs to be some kind of catch up on that water sewer, because they're less apt to be able to continue their work if they go into deficit. In fact, they can't go into deficit. So I just want to make sure that that we're looking at this correctly, and that water sewer is going to be, maybe prioritized even. But I know it's a lot of money on both sides, so maybe a 3/4-25 split. But somehow I think the water sewer, to keep them solvent, and maybe Chris knows better about that if he was participating in the discussions.
yeah, I'd have to confirm if there's any legal issues, but if possible, it would be best to do the water sewer now, at least on the town's end. That would be better. So
Yeah. Okay.
So I guess, James, that's something that we would ask you to facilitate contact with the CEO and assurance that that fee structure is going to work, and you'll be able to keep up with those as well as the current bills as they come in. So that's definitely one thing we want to continue to work towards here. And anything else on the? Am I missing anything on the fee structure, or do we want to? Anybody else have any thoughts on that, Bob, Gordon?
No.
No, not on the fee structure. I do have a question on what should all communication go through you, James, or should there ever be communication with the other on-site folks, Hope and Jerry? I guess you mentioned those names. How would Mr. Patel like this to go as the owner?
I think the best way to do it, because Hope works a hybrid schedule. She's part-time on-site, part-time remote. Jerry's in the greenhouses 90% of the day. I would say anything you need, send it to me and send it to Upesh, and then we can usually pull answers from them, from Jerry and
Great.
Hope.
Okay.
And then on anything that's being sent to Upesh, just CC me on it if you don't mind, and I'll make sure it gets squared away. we're trying to get him up to speed very quickly on a crash course. So I just want to
Sure.
make sure that he gets a lot of the institutional knowledge that's been built over the past couple of years. And hopefully can give him some context on some of the discussions we've been having and things like that.
And I assume it's Jerry that's doing the work on trying to update the filtration issues. As soon as you could get us some kind of theoretical guidelines on when this is going to happen, and maybe not theoretical, maybe actual. If you could keep us updated on that, at least weekly or 2 weeks, we just need to know what's happening, because I have a lot of people who've called me, and I want to get back to them, our citizens, to make sure that they know that, yes, you guys are stepping up, you're doing it, and we've got some kind of schedule. At least something to shoot for. That would be, I think, very helpful to the people who have all called me.
Of course. So the main thing in getting that system turned back on, it runs on, and I'm not going to pretend I know exactly what they are, but it runs on a certain blend of chemicals, essentially,
Sure.
that mitigate the odor. Harsh was supposed to have ordered those before his departure. I'll check with Jerry and see what the tracking is on getting those in. And make sure that we get those in and get those running. That's the stumbling block, if the system isn't already on, is sourcing that chemical that mitigates the odor. So I'll keep you posted on that. I'll shoot Jerry an email now and just make sure that we have a tracking info on that order, and then I'll let you know as soon as it's in, as soon as it's turned on.
I think that Mr. Chairman, that's really that and the money discussion. I'm satisfied so far. As long as they keep up with the communication, that'd be great.
Yeah, no, I agree. Bob, do you have anything further?
Just to say, I'm cautiously optimistic that we're turning a corner here with Aruna, and I just think to date, going back some time, years now, there's been I'll say a lackadaisical approach to the concerns of the town of Lee. And when I say lackadaisical, I'm being kind. I just hope we're turning a corner here and that we can move forward
No,
on
not at all.
the
But
payments.
I can't get audio on this thing. I can't hear the meeting.
You. Thank you.
Anyway, yeah, you catch my drift, and I'm looking forward to progress being made. Thank you. Measurable progress. Yeah.
Thanks. And I'll just echo what Bob said. We're hoping. I would like
It's for me to speak.
think moving forward, let's maintain communication, and as much as Upesh doesn't live in the area, I think we'd all appreciate a meet, maybe if he could zoom in or just kind of put a face to the name for us, so that we can have that just reassurance, peace of mind, would be helpful in the future.
Definitely. I'll most likely I'll set something up over Zoom just to get it expedited. And from there, I'll find the next time he's coming to the area. He's in his 70s. He does have some health concerns, so traveling is not the easiest thing in the world, but we can at least all hop on a Zoom call and just all see each other, if not face to face, at least eye to eye.
Yeah, no, that's kind of my thinking as well. All right. Well, well, thank you for coming and joining us, James. And unless I'm missing something, we will move on. But I don't see Bob or Gordon chomping in. So thank you again, James, and we will continue the discussion
later. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good one.
Okay. Moving on, our next order of general business is we have a bike share grant application discussion. And I believe Ryan from BRPC is here to join us for that discussion. And Ryan, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Just wanted to get my audio working.
Thank you for joining us. And we received received a document. I don't think I saw it until today, but I don't know if you can share, or this was something I was trying to make sure we could have available
I
to
did
view.
reach out to Brooke and Chris. I think I think I'd be able to share. So let me just bring those up.
Yeah, if you
Um,
could bring those or whatever you'd like to, basically, I'll pass it over to you to kind of give your um,
yeah, I'm happy to give a little background into this bike share application. So for the past year, I have been meeting with communities across the Berkshires, with town administrators, community development, um, talking about them about the prospect of launching a bike share system. I've worked closely with the Pioneers Valley Bike Administrator to kind of learn about the process, and they direct me towards the MassDOT's Shared Streets and Spaces grants, which now offers funding up to $250,000 a year for bike share equipment and operations. So the reception I've gone across the Berkshires has been very positive. Many people recognize this as a valuable resource for people, residents, tourists getting around the community, having an available option to for recreation or for getting around. So from our discussions, um, Chris, Brooke, and I, we met early last week to go over the application and just give a little bit more background, this was all really precipitated by a feasibility study, which took place in 2021 before I started at BRPC. But it was a feasibility study, and I believe it was shared with all of you by Alta Planning, which was commissioned by BRPC as well as Pittsfield and a few other communities, which identified the region as having a high potential and capacity for bike share use and destinations. So we're very confident that this system, if launched, would be successful, and importantly, it would be a free pilot program, which would take place over 3 years as the Shared Streets and Spaces program funds bike share operations and equipment for up to 3 years. So after that 3 years, ideally, we're going to see, after Lee and potentially Stockbridge and other communities, Lee would be the lead community as part of this application, which is due on January 9th. So it's a quick turnaround time, but I don't know if the application will share with all you. It's only a 7-page application. It's very straightforward from what I've discussed with the representatives at MassDOT. So essentially, this program, if applied for, would fund $250,000 up to for Lee to start a bike share system, which after the first year would ideally begin to expand to other communities such as Pittsfield or Great Barrington. We've also identified external funding to potentially accelerate this system to expand all the way up to North Adams, and Williamstown. So we really see it as a regional program, which to take the first step, Lee would submit an application, and then in the following 2 years, other communities would submit the application to continue the process. So this is really a great program that many communities have taken advantage of to fund their own bike share systems. And we see this as being an excellent opportunity with no other applications in the works. Lee, from what I've heard, spoken with at MassDOT, would have a high chance of success. And we do feel with the feasibility study done, the destinations, the availability of recreation and resources, I think this would be a great application. And based on my discussions with Chris and Brooke, they believe so as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has for me.
Thank you, Ryan. Gordon, Bob, do you guys have any initial questions for Ryan on this?
Well, I can go. I was letting Bob go first if he wants to.
I did speak with Chris. He told me about your
Yeah.
meeting, and it sounds like a great concept. I'm not quite sure how we get to locations and that sort of thing. I don't know how far along the planning is on this, but it sounds like a great concept, and I could see in fair weather how it might benefit all of us, including tourists or whatever. I even tried to figure out how I'd navigate Lee on a bike at some point. So I think it's well worth moving forward on it.
That's a good point, Bob. As part of the feasibility study that was done, initial
Mhm.
locations have been identified, so we have
Yeah.
an idea of where we could put the bike share stations. This wouldn't be a dockless system. People wouldn't be able to just leave their bikes on the sidewalk. They'd have to go to a designated pickup and drop off area, which would all be done through an app. And as well, I definitely hear where you're coming from. Most communities aren't as bike friendly as they should be, and many don't have the necessary infrastructure. But that's the beautiful thing about this is after the initial application and once funding would be awarded, it would only bolster Lee and other communities' applications for infrastructure funding for redoing roadways, installing bike and pedestrian shared routes. So um, yeah, it is a good concept, and I think it would really evolve from there.
Thank you.
And as well, let me just share as part of the feasibility study this heat map that they created to show potential capacity for ridership. And is everyone able to see?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so as you can see, um, this is a color coded map based on composite demand as well as points of demand. So no surprise, Pittsfield is the and most intense location as to most people, but Lee is also, in the red. He's got quite a few points of interest, and I can move down from here. It also shows potential locations, which could include the bike share station. So a good amount of work has already been done. But it would still be the determination of Lee where exactly what wants to put the bike racks and how many bikes it wants.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Gordon. Did you want to
Yeah, I
say?
did. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, a couple questions. The 250,000, like, is there a certain minimum number of bikes and a maximum number of bikes? Let's start with that question. What would the application be looking for?
The application is to MassDOT isn't specifically about how many bikes or
Okay.
locations. It is just a funding request.
Okay.
So it does award up to $250,000.
Hmm.
I shared a Excel spreadsheet which should have more in detail information, but essentially that $250,000 is yours to determine on how to spend. Based on
Hmm.
my conversations with other bike share systems in the state and potential vendors, it seems that typically for a year of operation, and when I say a year, I don't mean all 12 months. I don't think it would be very wise or safe to have
Hmm.
bikes available to people year round. So it would probably be a 9 month system. And from there, based on private rates from the private industry, we're looking around $100,000 a year. So with the remaining $150,000, because they would handle all daily operations, it would be very hands off. You would have $150,000 to play with, and the bikes that we have spoken about, and I've done research on this, they would be electric assist bikes, so they wouldn't need any charging infrastructure, or they'd just be regular bike racks. They lock themselves, and you don't need to recharge them or replace the batteries except for maybe once or twice a year, which will be handled during rebalancing. But from that $150,000, I am confident you could get around 100 bikes through that. So that'd be around $100,000. And with the remaining 50, you could spend on bike racks, wayfinding hubs, and other amenities to help people use the system.
So what about storage? Could use this money to buy some storage units, and then do we have to pull the batteries every winter, to keep them from freezing or whatever? Does it have to be a heated storage area, how are towns dealing with that are working this system?
Unfortunately, I did hear back from MassDOT regarding storage, and I'm hopeful that there may have been an error in communication. But from what they've told me, that storage is not a covered expense for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I have been in close talks with Williams College as well. Chris said he was going to reach out to potential sites in Lee, which would volunteer their space to store them during the winter. And
Okay.
as well, even if there was just some land available, you could have a shipping container to store them
Mm-hmm.
throughout the winter. And in terms of replacing the batteries or anything like that, the $100,000 operation would pay for a local mechanic for someone to rebalance the bikes. And if ever a bike was at a low battery, which again is unlikely, they would replace a battery while they're rebalancing, which only takes a minute because it's just unlock, pull out, replace, lock again.
Well,
So
on the battery, I sorry to interrupt you, but on the battery issue, I'm thinking more when you store, your tractor or something over the winter, your lawn tractors, usually they say, hey, take the battery out and put it in a warm place. So that's what I was thinking of, not necessarily one that just dies from old age or whatever. So is that kind of thing something that we could probably use the money for also for a mechanic or whoever you're saying needs to take those, and then we have to find a place to store those batteries. I don't know how big they are. So I think we have some homework to do, but it sounds good.
yeah, based on my conversation with vendors, it doesn't seem like the extreme cold, being placed in storage for the winter
Mm-hmm.
is an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, a battery kept in stable temperatures is going to last longer. But these are all expenses which are typically covered by the vendor. So I don't think it would be something that Lee would need to incur by itself or without grant funding, at least.
Okay, well, thank you. No, right now I think it's an interesting idea. I don't mind, going forward with something like this to look into it more, especially. I don't know what the request is for tonight. Mr. Chairman, what is the request for tonight?
I don't think there is an action for us to take. This was simply a discussion where we would sort of start the process, or at least inform people of what what was being thought of in town hall, and um, just
Okay. Well, thank you. That's what I wasn't sure of.
yeah. It looks like
Thank
Chris
you.
had to too. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chair, yeah, and Gordon. So, as Ryan mentioned, this would be on a grant, and so before applying, we wanted to make the board aware of, and get any feedback you have. As Ryan said, Brooke and I have been discussing this with him, and was wanted to bring it out to get feedback before we made any official applications. And I believe that's in accordance with how our grant grant motion at town meeting reads as well. So sorry, I can't talk very well tonight, but yeah. So we wanted to get feedback, see what questions the board had, and before we went any further. Um, there are a few discussions that still need to be had on where exact locations would be, the exact number. I don't think we would get close to 100. We would probably want to start off smaller to see how it goes. Um, and and again, I don't know how much. I don't think Ryan got a lot into it, but the idea is eventually there would be the goals. There would be no cost to the town at any point. Um, this would be um, a pilot program that's free at the beginning, and then like many of these, the app you would pay for um, so much per hour or minute, however it works,
Right.
that would sustain the program. But there would be no expectations that there would be any um, uh, town money being used towards this. So
Yeah, and just to underline that, what's being discussed is this bike share is, we would still need to look at where if we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 5 bike racks, where they're going to be. I think there's still quite a few details to figure out there. And, like, do these racks hang around all year, even when they're not being used, or because, in the winter when it's snowing and, just the intricacy of how it all works, as today
Yeah.
is very, very wintry. So really just a discussion to start, inform people, let them know what is being thought of. When I have a question for you, Ryan, or this may be more for Chris or Brooke, but when would we need to apply for this grant? Is there like a due date?
The deadline for the application is January 9th. And while that is a quick turnaround time, it is also a very simple application.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So this is something that we'll have to move on quickly if we want to participate or attempt to. I think it's a good it seems like a good idea for a program, and could provide some needed bikes for people that want to see the town that way. So thank you for joining us. Is there, before we move on, is there anything else you want to share with us, Ryan or Gordon, Bob? Anything else, you guys? Any other questions?
Well, I have one question, Mr. Chairman. So January 9th. So I think we have 2 meetings between now and then.
Yeah.
One more in December and then one early in January. Is this the application something that the select board needs to sign off, or does that come to the town administrator or a planner? Just wondering who has to sign it, because I'm fine with the plan. I don't have a problem with it.
No, we won't need the board to sign, Gordon.
Okay, thanks.
We can do that. And again, this was kind of to kind of get it out there, be able to have you guys ask questions, engage interest, and we could probably have some more details for the next meeting on what the numbers and specific locations could possibly be, and
I would
before that goes out. So
yeah, I'd suggest that, Chris. It sounds like we're kind of pro bike share program, but we need to hash out a couple more details. So if we end up applying for this grant, I think at our one of our next 2 meetings, we'll bring this up again just to make everyone aware of what's potentially coming. Does that sound fitting, Bob, Gordon?
Sounds like a plan.
Sure. No, I'm absolutely fine with that.
Okay. Ryan, do you have anything else before we move on?
No, not at all. It's been really great working with Chris and Brooke and other, town officials throughout Berkshire County. So I'm really grateful you all took the time to meet with us, and I'm hopeful we can move forward.
Thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you. You everyone have a nice rest of your night.
You as well.
Okay, so moving on. Our next order of general business, we have a discussion of potential housing at 88 West Park Street, and I believe Muhammad Zabian is on joining us. And just so that everybody is aware of the parcel we are looking at, 88 West Park Street is the old Price Chopper grocery store. So with that, and this, there was also a graph. There we go. Somebody's sharing it. Muhammad, I would hand it off to you at this point. I did have a chance to take a look at this, but I'm hoping that you can kind of elaborate and give us a little bit more detail.
Sure. Good evening.
Good
Can
evening.
everyone hear me okay?
I can.
All right. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure I'm doing this right.
Yeah, you're doing well.
All right. So basically, this is just an introduction, obviously, to see, to get the town's temperature and see what can be done over here. Obviously, Price Chopper's been abandoned for a long time. We've been fortunate enough to get a purchase and sale agreement with them. So we're moving forward with that. This plan is just basically like a 3-story, somewhat of an apartment building. But I was hoping to do something a little bit more higher end, you know what I mean? Obviously, the old mill down there, I mean, that's gonna be what, 200 units or 150 units down there. So I want to do something a little bit different than what's down at the end of the, Main Street. But really just want to see the town's temperature, what they feel about doing something with this parcel, you know? The difference between me and someone else building this is basically is they want to build something, as big and as low cost as possible. I want to do something that's a little bit more attractive, a little bit, better quality, but also keeping in mind, Lee has this very serious parking situation, a very serious parking problem. I know it here because I live it every day, every Saturday you got the farmer's market, every time there's a funeral, the town celebrations. Without this parcel here, this parking, I don't know where everyone's going to park. One of my biggest concerns is keeping parking for us. For my brother next door in the clothing store, for me here in the jewelry store, and then I have 15 tenants in my building here. Parking is a very serious issue. I don't think Lee's really had a parking problem because of this big parcel of land here for many years. Price Shoppers have been always kind of been gracious about the town using it, which was kind of always nice. And someone builds here besides me, I think that's going to be a serious problem. They're just going to build it, obviously, and just use the parking for themselves. So I'm trying to think of something where, I can talk to you guys about maybe doing something that's good for the town, good for us, as far as something that we can maybe do a joint venture of parking somehow, some way. Also, too, that, I have a lot of people that talk to me about the, those barriers over there where people used to go from Park Street to the post office. That cutoff is gone, and to me that's, I know it sounds crazy, but I actually like the fact that it's cut off. I know a lot of people want to use it, but I don't know if you guys have ever noticed, but when people drive through there, I mean, they're not slow. They're not slow. This is going to be a residential property with people living there, 30 people, 40 people, 50 people, 60 people. Not one time have I seen someone go through there at a regular rate of speed. You know what I mean? That's a very scary thing. You know what I mean? So I'm welcome to any kind of feedback you guys might be,
Yeah.
you might have.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, and I'll go first and just kind of say that my appetite would be for something to happen. Definitely would love that on this site because it's like you mentioned, kind of sat there vacant and rotting away for too many years now. And we do have a lot of housing going on in town. This would potentially be 42 more units. I don't know if that's too much housing or if there's such a thing as too much housing, but it is what it is.
Do you have any suggestions, any ideas? I mean, you guys have the plan in front of you, of course, but I mean, I'm willing to listen and take any suggestions and ideas. I am nervous about having too many units in one town.
Sure. I'll go ahead and pass it off to Gordon or Bob if they want.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you, Mohammed, for introducing this for conversation because clearly the area has been blighted for some time now, and I think I have more people asking me about this particular piece of property and what's happening with it more than any other. You understand probably the economics a lot better than I do, and I'll echo what Sean had to say. Is I don't know whether we have enough housing or too much housing, or or is there ever enough? But you mentioned that you want to do sort of an upgraded facility, a building maybe with higher end apartments and that sort of thing. And that's a very interesting discussion because quite often we've been scrambling for affordable housing and housing or workforce housing, and so this is an interesting concept, and I'm certainly open to continuing the conversation. It'd be great to see some elevations of what you had in mind as well. And then, of course, you bring up the issue of parking. Of course, that is a concern. But I find the whole concept very, very interesting, and hope we can discuss it in more in depth as we move along.
So I'll go ahead and pass it over to Gordon if he's got anything that he wants to say. But I think one thing you are lacking here, Mohammed, is green space. Um, I definitely think that we have, it would be good to add some parking back to the town for in this area. But I would hate to,
When you say
lose
green space, you mean like a park of some sort?
yeah, I'd hate to lose an opportunity to add something like that for the people that live there, potentially people.
Is there
Yeah.
enough room for that though?
Well,
It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
just the thought. Gordon, do you have
Sure.
something?
Well, no, to continue your line of thinking, I think the very next thing I would suggest Mr. Zabian do is to make sure he gets in front of the planning board to talk to them, because they're the ones who will be reviewing this kind of development plan. And the bylaw will spell out whether or not you need, based on the number of units you have, it'll spell out what kind of green space you may or may not need and the number of parking places. So a lot of, I think, the refinement and eventually, should you move forward, your elevations of the building and some of the finer numbers of parking and your flow pattern, that all gets hammered out with the planning board. So I think conceptually, love to see something happen on this property, as Select Person Jones mentioned. I get asked about this all the time. What's happening? How come it isn't gone? How come it isn't this? How come it isn't that? It would be great to say, hey, there's actually a proposal, on to go forward with. So some of the things that you're going to have to work on actually would be with discussions with the planning board. So definitely recommend you get there sooner than later.
I have a meeting next Monday.
Oh, that's great, because they will, they're going to go through the bylaw, and really they can be a great assist to you as far as moving forward with designs and your project. But yeah, I think, and if you're looking for the town to work with you on parking and whatnot, especially up adjoining Main Street, I would certainly have no problem with working with you on something up there. And there again, you can discuss that some with the planning board, but I'd be happy to see us work with you on that.
Sure. I'm just very concerned about the downtown, the impact on the,
Yeah.
all of us use, all of us. I mean, every single one of us use that parking lot for our customers, not just me here, of course, but all the street, all the business up the street, people park there and they walk up the street, and if we lose that, right? If we lose that, not only does it hurt everyone on the street, but it also hurts us too as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is a tough one. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I've gone over this, a million times with a million different people trying to figure something out. But the biggest concern I have is there's a lot of grants and money through the state and maybe through HUD, but for lower income housing, there's fund after fund after fund. But there's one thing that I think we have way too much, if I can call it low income housing or regular housing, there's just way too much of it in this community now. I think we're overdone on it, overdrawn on it. But there's no one thinking of like the local police, the nurses, you know what I mean, the state workers, that kind of housing, you know what I mean, a little bit, higher end a little bit. But the problem is there's no money for it. There's no grants for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I share your sentiment there. Chris, did you want to add something if you can speak?
Yeah, just thanks, Sean. I just wanted to hear more about what Mohammed mentioned, a partnership with the town. I just wanted to get a little more sense of what he was looking for from the town. Whether that be that, with the parking, I mean, two things come to mind. I agree on the parking 100%. And if the town's going to be part of that, there's so much that we can do with a private owner versus having the property publicly owned, at least for that section. And then we also have the public safety building going in over on Railroad Street and Consolati Way, and there's been a lot of talk about regaining that access directly to West Park Street. So I think the town has a lot of interest in this property for parking and for access there. So just wanted to kind of get a little more information on what you were looking for, Mohammed, as when you said partnership.
Well, the first thing is the first thing is basically, is the town aware of any kind of, again, there's grants for lower income housing, but is the town aware of any sort of grants for, I mean, I can't, I don't know the definition of, is it workforce? I mean, would you call it that? I don't understand the definition of different salaries and things like that, but a little bit more higher end, like, again, there's so many grants for low income housing, and I just think we're overdrawn on it. I just don't know if there's any grants. Is the town aware of any kind of grants? Because I've done the numbers so many different times with the Allergoni family about the build of this, and without some type of fund, some type of grants, or low, just very low interest loans from the state, no one can afford to do this. No one can afford to build something like this without these kind of funds. Even low income housing, the cost of building today is insane. So
just to kind of answer that, the short answer is I don't. The short answer is no, and I guess Brooke could probably speak a little more on it. The reason why is the most of the money that's available is for what we would consider affordable housing, not market rate. I'm not aware of any, but again, Brooke, if you're aware of any, please feel free to speak up. I think you're still on the meeting. I'm not aware of anything for market rate. The problem with affordable is because we have 200 units in the works, we have met our 40B compliance, which does not make us eligible for any more funding for housing projects. So
So in a sense,
certainly wouldn't say we wouldn't look or try, but I don't think I wouldn't be very optimistic that there would be funding. If there was a partnership again where the town were to acquire part of that property for parking or access, that would be something that would have to go through the board and then town meeting and would use town funds. But I think there's enough need that we could justify the town investing in part of that property from that standpoint. But I don't see any grants, and I'm not trying to sound negative. I based on the fact that they're usually available only for affordable, and that we will have pretty much exhausted all of that with the units that are already in progress. It's unlikely that EOHLC would be providing more money to the town of Lee. We would move to the bottom of the list. So
thanks, Chris. Brooke, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly add to that Muhammad, I recommend to reach out to, state rep. I believe that the Homes Act may be able to provide some market rate grant money, but it's not through the municipality. So like Chris was kind of talking about, a lot of those grants are something that either the municipality is a part of, or, we apply for things, especially for 40R funding. But I don't believe that the municipality has as much of a point or much of a part in that grant system as affordable housing. But definitely a state rep should be able to have more information about that. That's more of a private, the developer applies for it sort of deal. But I believe I sent you all that information a bit ago. I can resend that email, but that was one of the links that I sent.
That would be very kind. Thank you.
Yeah, again, that's the Homes Act. So that's the only other thing I can think of that may have some funding from an outside source, or the state really. And I think that there may be other private, funding sources you could look for and apply for, but it gets tougher because there's a lot of funding for workforce or affordable. And if you're not looking for that, especially for our housing crisis right now, and a lot of what the state's pushing is more about affordability. So I don't necessarily know how many more other programs there are. I will resend you that email that I sent you a few months ago, because I know that there were a couple other grants on there that were more than just affordable, but definitely look into the Homes Act, and I'd reach out to your local rep, or our local rep, this is Lee Davis.
Lee Davis. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Gordon here. Yeah, I've been to several meetings lately across the state, and I know that the governor's office and EOHLC, the executive, is concerned, about all these issues, and I think they also recognize it's a hard stretch for developers to come up with other housing, and they're constantly discussing coming up with new grant programs. And so the best thing you can do is just always communicate with the executive office of housing and livable communities, get on their radar, and make sure you make a contact there, as Brooke mentioned. So because they're always talking about new programs and new grant programs. So I'd suggest you follow through with what she sent you.
Okay. Obviously, I'll do that. Thank you. I appreciate it. I also wanted, how would this work if I wanted, I mean, the main objective of this whole thing was to protect, my tenants, obviously my brother next door in the clothing store and the jewelry store here for parking. How would this work if I wanted to do something, jointly with the town? How would I approach that? If this housing thing doesn't work, right, because of the numbers, how would this work with the possible, maybe work something out with the town?
Yeah, I mean, this board is we're the body that acquires land. So you would have to hash out some sort of agreement with us, and then we would need town meeting approval. So it would be a process, that would kind of start with this board, and what kind of land purchasing agreement we would want to make from there. So I hadn't really thought about that as an option, but yeah, I could work out. I mean, I'm not against it by any means. If that works out in both the town and your favors, to get this this property developed, it might make sense. So I'm not sure exactly what the first step would be, other than a purchase and sale agreement that we would kind of work through.
Yeah, Sean, if the concern was to preserve parking, I would have to confirm with council on this, but based on, provided that the price was reasonable enough a deed restriction could be placed, I believe on at least a portion, to say that it would only be used for parking. So it's not like the town's gonna, pull some bait and switch kind of deal either. That Mohammed would be assured that
Yeah,
that would be done in perpetuity. Yeah.
to protect your interest for tenants and you and your brother's businesses is we would definitely want to work with you on that to make sure that we're not gonna that those needs for your tenants are met, and that we're not going to encroach on them in the future, for sure.
Right. It's a serious investment. I mean, it's a very serious, this is not little money, you know what I mean? This is a very serious investment for the purchase of this. So I'm open to anything right now, you know what I mean? In the beginning stages of this. So any ideas you guys have, I'm open to it, you know what I mean? So.
Great.
And Mr. Chairman, this is kind of off the wall thinking, I'm sure, and outside the box. But if the town were to be involved, or if Mr. Zabian wants to go forward on his own, forward thinking on the part of the planning board, they did add some zoning language which can allow for actually a parking, like multi-story parking structure, which maybe the town could get involved in something along that line somewhere, whether it's more back toward behind Buc-ee's and, not necessarily visible from the town street, but maybe between Zabian's and the Morgan House, but that's just something to think about, a multi-story parking structure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it'd be different, that's for sure.
If we can keep the town nice and quaint, you know what I mean, and
Yep.
solve the problem of all this, the parking issue, and maybe make some money on the side, you know what I mean, and make it profitable for everybody. And I don't want to see, truthfully honest, I don't want to see a 4 or 5 story, monster building back there. You know what I mean? The town's, to me, the town's not, was never geared for that. The old mill, the mill down there, it's nice that they're keeping everything somewhat, to the cosmetics of what it was. It looks beautiful already. You know what I mean? I just don't think anything big and modern is what the town is. So if I could do something here kind of more quaint and somewhat attractive, if it works out numbers wise, or work something out with the town, I'm interested in anything. So I'm willing to listen to any ideas that you guys might have, but I am very serious about working with the town to do something that benefits everybody.
Okay. Anything else, Gordon, Bob, or
Thank you.
Mohammed, before we move on?
No, I think if he's going to meet Monday with the planning board, I might watch that on Zoom just to see how the discussions go with them. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and they'll probably have some more ideas and direction for you. So
yeah.
Thank you for your time, gentlemen. I'm grateful for everybody. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right. With that, we'll move on to our next order of general business, which is this is some discussion revolving around an affordable housing project, and this one is the West Center Street, Canal Street development. And there's basically, let me get to that. Bear with me here for a second. So really what the discussion will start with is potentially proposing an amendment to expand the 40R Smart Growth Overlay District, that's the Eagle Mill site, to include this West Center property across the street from that. So we can kind of start there. We would submit a letter essentially outlining housing needs for the town and what the implications of the expanded 40R would be, and the town would be eligible for more funds there, but we would likely want to commit that back to the development. And is that Stephanie with us, joining us?
Yes. How are you?
Maybe you can expand on this, because I have a letter from you as well. So do you have something you want to add to this at this point?
Well, yeah, sure. First, I just want to say thank you to the town of Lee for their support so far. You've been tremendous partners and great supporters of this project, and we truly appreciate that. And this is just us proposing other mechanisms to support the project that can come through the town. So part of it is, yes, the inclusion in the Smart Growth Overlay District through the 40R process. And it would make the project eligible for over $200,000 in increased density subsidies that get paid directly to the town of Lee, as you know, and then potentially to be allocated to the project at the select board's discretion. So we would hope that the select board would approve that. And also, do you want to stick with my first point and go from there, or do you want to continue to the way?
Yeah, we'll start there, just
okay.
Because really this board, if we decide to, would sign this this amendment, this letter for the amendment of the zoning bylaws. Chris has his hand up, so he'll probably elaborate further. You want to go, Chris?
Yeah, just the clarification there. So this letter is for the board's support of that. That would be a zoning amendment. So the planning board would then need to hold a hearing to amend the zoning bylaws and then place that on the agenda for the next town meeting, whether that be a special or annual town meeting. But obviously this would be, this wouldn't actually be doing, making the official change, just basically putting your support towards the planning board too and town meeting to make this happen. So we would be eligible for density bonus payments. Since the project is already seen approval, there's nothing that the town will really lose by doing this. The town only stands to gain the bonus payments because they're already operating under the smart growth overlay district regulations. So the town would get, I believe it's around 3,000 a unit, which is there is an expectation that at least a significant portion of that would be given back to support the project, exactly like we did for Eagle Mill. We got in about $580,000, or we will altogether for Eagle Mill when it's done, and I think we've given back a couple 100,000 of that. So, which is the expectation when with 40R. So that just wanted to clarify the process. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Gordon, Bob, either of you have any thoughts about the support of the zoning amendment?
No, I think Chris clarified it quite well.
Yeah, I'd like to consider a little more, read more about it before I jump behind it. I've always spoken out that I think that side of the road, it's way too big and it's too much, but I don't want to vote no, but I know that they have to go before the planning board, and there'll be time for me to make other discussion and questions and whatnot there. But I'd like to spend a little more time with the documentation on how this works. And especially, I'll talk to the next bullet point when we get there.
No, I think that's reasonable. If you want to table the support letter until our next meeting, we can.
As long as it doesn't screw up a time frame, and then maybe I get to also, hear what they have to say to the planning board, which would be great. Because I'm not going to vote no tonight, but I would probably end up abstaining, but till I know more about it and understand if we do get a bunch of money and we're giving back part, how are we going to determine how much goes and how much we keep? I'd like to know more about that kind of process, and what does it go for? So I guess in not understanding it fully, I hesitate to vote yes or no. Yeah.
Bob, any further thoughts on the?
No, I think that's very well, what Gordon had to say is very well reasoned, and I don't think there's any reason to rush into it. It would be very interesting to see, to hear the planning board's take on this, and he's raised some of the questions that are in my mind as well. But I think if we table it for tonight, we can each do our own research into how this works.
By doing that, are we messing with your time frame at all, Stephanie? Or
Well, our pre-application has been submitted, and we're hopeful that we'll be submitting the full app, and we have other sources lined up. So, it needs to be timely if possible, but I understand your need to vet this fully. And if there's anything that we can do to help to answer questions or, a presentation, you just let us know. I'd be happy to do it.
our next meeting is on the 16th.
Of December?
Bring that back up with that date.
Okay. I think that should be fine for us.
So we'll kind of move on to the second part of this. If you want to, Stephanie, do you want to go ahead and start the discussion about what, or is this you proposing? Are you asking for waivers on your utility connections? Is that what sort of?
Yeah, potentially. And on the waiving or reducing of permitting and connection fees, typically charged to, say, a market rate project. And this would include the building, electrical, plumbing, wastewater. We've realized benefit from this in other situations, and this is just another mechanism that the town has at its disposal and discretion to use to support the project. So this is just, another way for us to try to make it work, to try to leverage those funds. And, it's something that just makes the project more affordable in general for us.
There you go. There's another idea of how we can assist Mohammed's housing.
Mhm. I was thinking about some ideas. Far be it from me.
So I don't know that we typically do this, that we waive connections.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure that we can as a board. I think that wastewater fee and hookups, that's all the Board of Public Works.
Yeah.
I think it's in their jurisdiction. So the wastewater part, and in fact, I'd be a little skeptical about if it was our jurisdiction. I'd
Yeah,
be a little
definitely
skeptical.
Board of Public Works on the water
Yeah.
and sewer. You guys
Yes.
could rule, you could decide on the building permits.
That's correct. That's what I was getting at, is building, electrical, plumbing. I'd like a chance, again, keep it on the agenda for the 16th. I'd like to have the building commissioner voice in on, just how much time does this take? And I think our electrical, plumbing, they get stipends and a certain amount. I want to understand and make sure that they get paid for their time. We don't have to make a lot of money on it, and I don't think we necessarily should. But again, voicing in from the building commissioner, electrical, plumbing inspectors, and gas, that would be great. And then we can have a little better numbers in our mind as far as I don't know about a total waiver, but a reduction in permitting and connection, or not connection. That's not our job, but when permitting and inspection, I can see that, but I think that I need more information from the subgroups here. But not a bad idea.
I had a similar line of thinking with I'm not right off the top. I think, do we create a bad precedent by waiving some fees for one development, and then now everybody's going to be asking us to waive all these fees? But if we can help you out, like Gordon said, with some permitting fees or otherwise, or if the Board of Public Works is accommodating with hookups and such, it might be something that we can work with you on. It looks like Kriska has something else to add to that.
Yeah, Sean, sorry, I told you since I was losing my voice, I wasn't going to talk a lot, and I guess I lied. But no, just a little background, I think, as to why this situation has come up and not before. So, for as far as affordable housing, we have the Eagle Mill and we have this project. And as I mentioned, the Eagle Mill was a 40R project, which this one is not yet. So when the affordable housing seeks money from the state likes to see some local contribution towards that. So with the Eagle Mill, we were able to do some of that 40R money, which is not available as of yet for this project. What would normally be next on the list would be for a municipality would be money from the Affordable Housing Trust. But as you know, Sean, as a member, we don't have money in that trust yet because we're a brand new trust. So some of our neighboring towns would go right to the trust and have it. So the reason these sorts of things like the fee waiver and so forth is coming up is as an alternative for not having that affordable housing trust money again, because we're new. So these are other ways that the town could provide support, which would make their application look stronger for the state money. So not swaying anybody's opinion either way, just kind of explaining the theory behind why this has come up with this particular project.
Thank you for that, Chris. That's absolutely true. And that's part of the application process, is seeing that local support and that leverage locally for the project. So I thank you for that point.
Yeah, so with that, we're definitely going to revisit this at our next meeting. Bob, Gordon, you guys have anything else you want to add at this point?
No, I'm good.
I'm good, thank you.
Stephanie, is there anything else before we move on you'd like to say?
No, I think that's it for now. And I thank you for the opportunity to be there on the 16th.
Yeah, we'll get our ducks in a row and do some more research on this and make sure we got everything lined up for then.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next order of business is we have a one-day entertainment license from Juju's. This is Keep It Crispy LLC doing business as Juju's. They are hosting a singer-songwriter series, this is a part of the singer-songwriter series in town, and there's two dates that they're gonna host, December 19th and January 16th. Both live bands, no more than 3 musicians. Gordon, Bob, do either of you have any comments you'd like to make or a motion?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think it's a great idea. The more we can do downtown like this, I think the better for our downtown. So I would make a motion to approve both dates as submitted.
I will second that.
I have a motion and a second, and if there's no further discussion, I will call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
I hear 3 ayes for unanimous approval. Next order of business, we have a utility cut permit to consider, and this is from Maximilian. They are looking to install a 6-inch water line off the east side of the road, and this is along Woodland Road up by the DCR, the state forest entrance. There will be an officer there for a detail, and we have received the escrow payment as well for any repair work that might need to take place. So unless there's an issue, I would entertain a motion for approval.
A question, Sean. This is they're asking for a town water line.
Actually, well, yeah, but it's coming from they're tapping into Lennox's water line. Actually, that's my understanding. I think Chris was about to correct about to say that. So
That's my understanding too. It's a Lennox water line. It's in Lee, and Lee Road, but Woodland Road, of course, goes into Lennox. So it's DCR actually runs off of the Lennox water system, and that's what they're tapping into. So they don't have to come to us for permission to tap into the water line, but they do need to come to the town for permission to cut the road to do so.
yeah, our road, not our water line.
Okay, thank you.
So I guess, do I have a motion? I don't think we've made a motion yet.
I just, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to remind everybody that it's kind of ironic that they're bringing in water from Lennox for the proposed UDF, when in 1972 the town of Lennox was looking for a water source, a secondary water source for the town of Lennox, and it is the very site where the UDF is being built. And I just find that rather ironic at this point. And I don't know that there's anything we do about. I don't know that we can deny this water line, but I'm just saying it's just another one of those what I view as an absurdity in this situation in the building of this UDF. Thank you.
Yeah, another slap in the face.
Yeah.
Still waiting on a motion. Anybody? No.
I'm going to make a motion that we table this until the 16th, so that I just can't wrap my head around this.
Yeah.
I still can't.
No, I would second that.
A motion and a second to table. Any further discussion?
Yeah, well, I'd like to say a lot of things that I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Until maybe if I do more homework before the 16th, then I'll bring it up. But this is surprising what company's coming in here and who's on the Lennox board. And when, Lennox has no skin in this game, and yet they get the same amount of money the town of Lee did. I think that still irks everybody that, and I'm pretty sure I know why, but that would be a supposition on my part, but I just, yeah, it doesn't sit well with me. That's all. So I think wait until the 16th, maybe I can do a little more homework and feel a little better about it. Cause right now I don't feel good at all about it.
Understood. Anything further? All those in favor?
Aye.
Hey, aye.
Aye. 3 ayes for unanimous approval or tabling of that permit. So that brings us to the end of our general business. I don't have anything at the moment other than to say a huge thank you to the DPW, who I'm sure have been on the road all day into the night. Had quite a storm today, and hence why we're on Zoom. So thank you to everybody working to clean this mess up. Bob, Gordon, do you guys have anything you'd like to add before we adjourn?
I'm good, thank you.
No. Yep. Same here. Thank you. No,
We're gonna-
they've been on top of things. I've been out a number of times, so they're doing what they can do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're gonna skip over Chris for tonight, and we will see everybody December 16th. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.